Welcome, everyone. Ooh, that's loud. It's always scary and weird to hear your own voice, especially in a setting like this with 150 eyes piercing at you. My name is Sander Deur, together with my colleague Tom Siebeneicher. Thank you very much for being here. I live in the Netherlands. Tom comes from Germany, and it may be of no surprise that our French is absolutely terrible. So hence why we do this talk in English. I'm not even going to try. We don't want to make it a comedy show. I live together with my wife, 3 kids, 2 cats, and a dog. So absolute bottom of the food chain. We see some familiar faces. So the people who have been here in the first talk know this is a recurring joke, but it's still true. It's a good one. Yeah, that's why I like being here. People actually listen to me and compare to my 3 kids. So what we've seen in many organizations is a recurring thing and a mindset disease, if you will. Something that slowly sneaks in with a lot of teams. And we saw a recurring pattern. We work for an organization called Zevia. We do a lot of consulting. I work as a professional Scrum trainer for Scrum.org as well. So we come to a lot of different organizations. Big, small, different countries, different cultures. And we see the same thing happen over and over and over again. And that's what we call TANS. There's always the next sprint, a mindset offset, if you will, that makes people think, well, why should we solve anything today if we can always do it in the next sprint? That's fine. Just blindly spill things over, right? We can fix it in the next sprint. There's more time. We can do that. And we started getting so sick of this that we have to do the same message over and over with every single client that we started spreading the love in these conferences. Let's go back to the beginning of Scrum, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Feel free to ask any questions if you have them in between. Don't wait around and sit until the end of the conversation, of our talk. Feel free to ask them. We have a microphone. We'll run up and down. It's good for our movement as well.
Yeah, and we actually fixed the microphone, so we can this time really use it. The people
right, just double checking, right? It's fixed, right?
A lot of nodding, that's good.
Sweet.
For the people who joined the first talk, you know what we are talking about. Yeah, warm welcome also from my side. As I said, the people which have been here already know my name. So I'm Tom Siebeneicher here. I'm originally from Germany. I moved 2 years ago to the Netherlands, on purpose, by the way. No one forced me to do that. Over the last 8 to 9 years, I'm in the Agile field. I was a Scrum Master, Product Owner, Agile Coach, Enterprise Coach, Agile Project Manager. I also saw that PMI is around, so I also have this wonderful PMP certification. Yes, I read the stupid book of 600 pages and passed that exam. Let's say it was an experience. Along the way, I also was a, let's say, developer for a couple of sprints. People who know me know that I'm not an IT guy at all. I studied industrial engineering, focus on mechanics. So I was not actually helpful during that time for the team, but it was great for me to experience the whole situation. Beside that, I have a girlfriend, no dogs, no cats, no nothing. Still, food chain-wise, same situation. So it doesn't matter how many people are living in your household, same situation.
Every man who says he's the boss in house lies.
Yes, that's true. For the people who are standing, we still have a lot of spots here in the front, some minor ones, so you also can sneak in here if you like to.
Unless you want to preserve the opportunity to slip out.
That's why I want him to sit. Okay. Let's dive right into it. What do we want to do today? We want to change your mindset. We want to change your mindset in a direction of delivering value in a better way. And now everyone will say, yeah, that's why we have Scrum. That's why we are using it. Great. As Sander already mentioned, we have seen a lot of patterns along the way. We have seen repetitive things, and sometimes I feel guilty if I go to another client and I see, okay, here are the 5 patterns, here are potential solutions. Try that without paying so much money for it every time. And if you fail doing that, then call us back, then we give it another try. Some clients do that, some clients don't. So anyway, I'm also working for Zevia. And Sander, well, let's talk about golden nuggets.
Yeah. So as I said, we want to go back to the core and the beginning of Scrum. So question to you, what's the purpose of Scrum?
It's an Agile conference, guys. Stick with us. You try to start saying something? Deliver products, okay. Satisfying the customer, okay.
Does it mean like a back rub, or how do we satisfy the customer needs? So it depends.
That's a good good answer.
Yes, it's almost the typical consultant answer, right? It depends. The whole purpose of Scrum is to deliver value, right? Deliver valuable pieces of product, increments. But what does that mean? What does value mean?
Well, value is money in my pocket, right? Isn't it?
Well, yeah. I was speaking to this client in the US the other day, and when I asked him how would you define value if the project is delivered on time and within budget.
Wow.
So how does that add value? Maybe to the company, maybe to the company itself, but not to the client, right? The client doesn't care whether you get your money or whether you deliver within your scope.
Yeah, but let's ask the question, because we're at an ETA conference, and the people who joined our first talk know we ask a lot of questions. Who of you has a clear definition of value in their company? Oh, one. Yes! We have one hand. Two, maybe, but a little bit of not sure about it. Interesting, right? Because each and everyone quite often talks about we need to deliver value. We are an agile mindset. We want to deliver value to our customers. But rarely we see a clear definition what value actually is in the organizations. Why is that, Sander?
Well, my experience, or our experience, is because clients themselves don't know either. You're going to ask them, what do you want? I want to have a blue shirt. You deliver the blue shirt. Yeah, but that's not really the blue shirt that I want, right? I want a different type of blue. I want Facebook blue. But you only get there through these conversations. Going back to the Agile Manifesto, individuals' interactions over processes and tools. However, these conversations rarely are being had. So it's a mindset disease that slips in. And as every disease has symptoms, we're going to be talking about these symptoms as well. What we have seen and what we can do to resolve them. And I would like to challenge you guys as well to think really hard about your organization. What kind of symptoms do you see and what kind of resolutions could you try? So what do we need to change?
Well, not that much, Sander, I think. But let's first think about what we just said. There's always the next sprint. You hopefully read the description of this talk and not just took a detour on the floor and recognized, damn it, I wanted to be somewhere else. What can be the issue with that? What can be the issue with there's always the next sprint? What do you think? Over here. There are always delays, okay.
Just think that it's okay to have delays because anyway the competitors have the chance to compete in the next sprint.
Delays are fine, so we just spill it to the next sprint. Okay, that's a good one. Over there? No closure, yeah. That's another good thing. What else?
Lack of commitment.
Lack of commitment. Lack of focus. Overcommitment.
Overcommitment, good one.
That's a really good one.
One in the back.
Tons of technical debt. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Continuous development. Why are you just looking at the bad side?
Yeah, just keep going.
Positive to say
Yeah.
we have a next
Yeah,
sprint.
continuous.
Come on, guys.
5 minutes in and the people are yelling at us. No, that's a really good point. I really appreciate that point. But we had more over there.
Eroding trust with your customers.
Eroding trust with the customers, yes. The people who joined the first talk, I spilled one thing this morning. What was it? I made a comparison. Have you ever seen an athlete, a professional sprinter, running a sprint after sprint after sprint without any breaks? They don't do that. That's called a marathon. And they're not sprinting, they're running in a dedicated, clear, continuous pace. And that's actually the point. So what needs to change is a lot of things. First one.
The blind spillovers just spill over work to the next sprint. How many people just blindly click the button in Jira, add work to the next sprint?
I commit that.
Instead of having a conversation like, why is this still here? Why do we have work left at the end of the sprint? Does it still need to be here? Is it valuable? Where do we need to place it? Do we need to put it back into the product backlog? Do we need to put it back into the sprint backlog for the next sprint? Or do we need to take it out at all, like in general? But the conversations that we see in our consultancy experiences miss these kind of conversations. It's just click, button, buy, next sprint, don't think about it anymore. Because there's work, because stakeholders say it's valuable, without challenging them. Do we really need that?
And the other thing which we see quite often with this blind spillover is also we are mature enough. We are already together for quite a while. We have an experienced team. So whatever is left in our sprint backlog, it's definitely worth it in the next sprint. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Again, how do you define value?
Exactly. So how do we fix that then?
Well, let's start focusing on the present. We need that focus, right? We had some comments here. We got to focus. One of the Scrum values, focus. But where do you focus on? On value, obviously. But then start going back. How do you define value? Have those conversations with your stakeholders. Think about what are the goals that we need to fix. Many teams miss sprint goals, miss product goals, product vision, and how does this connect to the overall company vision? How can we get there, Tom?
Yeah, that's quite interesting because quite often the goal is not clear. So how can we focus on something we don't know what it is? So the goal setting is not working properly. But the other thing is also, a lot of people are scared, well, if I now click the button, putting it back to the backlog, I might never find it. I mean, I have seen Jira backlogs. That's a fair concern. But on the other hand, if it's really important, you will find it again. Your PO will prioritize this. Even the team will put it up again. But what is another reason why people don't like to have this focus and don't like to put stuff back into the backlog?
Sometimes bias.
Bias, yeah?
Feels like waste.
Feels like waste, and exactly that's the point. We all don't like to waste our time. If I've started it, if I worked on it, putting it back somewhere, not finishing it, that feels off, right? You also don't start to build your house and halfway you stop doing it. Maybe if you're running out of money, but that's a different challenge. So we need to have this focus to say, okay, we focus on what we can achieve in the given sprint. We decide, okay, carefully, let's put it back into the backlog. That's fair. And if it's really important, we will bring it back. But we talked about goals.
What are we really trying to achieve here? What's the outcome that we're trying to get? We'll talk about more of these deeper dives into how we can break that down in a minute, but really think about what are the goals that we're trying to achieve. So often we know what we're going to do in the coming sprint, and I don't mean deliver feature A, B, and C, because that's no goal. That's just getting stuff done and not really thinking about the outcome that we're trying to get. But what is really the goal that we're trying to achieve in this sprint? How does the work that we're currently doing going to help our customers, our stakeholders, get a better product or get a problem out of the way? One of the companies that we were working with had a sprint goal called improve the Netflix onboarding journey. All right, cool, sounds good. Then define improve. I can technically improve it with 0.0%. Is that going to be useful to our stakeholders, to our users? Probably not, because it's so marginal they won't notice. And if it's not measurable, how do we know whether we really add any benefit?
Yeah, and then the main point is also, we all collect that. We all say, yeah, we have velocity and so forth. But so often I have seen teams, yes, we have a sprint goal, so we are working against it. Great. And now you plan stuff. Is it possible to actually do that in your sprint? So do the data tell you can achieve this? Well, maybe not, but we can make a little bit of a stretch, right? So often there's no realistic look back. Do we perform well? So for example, I had a team which had a velocity around 20 story points in the past, and they would always put more stuff into the sprint. 30, 40, even 50 story points. And it was a mature team, right? Together for quite a while. Why are you doing it? Yeah, we just had a rough patch the last sprint. We are actually performing better than that. Come on. No, you're not. Because if your velocity is 20, it comes from somewhere. So this means be honest with yourself. And a lot of teams are not honest with themselves, because being honest also is admitting that they haven't achieved their goals in the past. And you don't like that, right? You like to have this wonderful world, it's going smooth, we're actually making progress, rather than, let's face it, last sprint sucked. We didn't perform well. But actually doing this and taking the data and combining the data with what are our goals and have clear goals is doing the trick here already, doesn't it?
Yep. And if stakeholders just keep adding stuff to the backlog and your product owner is not taking them out wherever it doesn't add any value or it doesn't contribute to the achievement of our goals, then why keep it in there? You'll get to product or to marshmallow backlogs. It has a lot of fluff in there. It looks big. It seems to have a lot of value. But if you look under the surface, it doesn't really add any nutritional value. It just bloats and bloats and bloats, and it doesn't help. I had a product owner at Nike who had a very strict policy for this. He said no to everything unless stakeholders could convince him otherwise. And it kept his backlog really neat, lean, and clear. So every time the stakeholders came up to him, they need to have very clear what is the added value of whatever I'm requesting of this team to be developed, and then it could be taken into the product backlog or not. But it helps to keep everything very concise. Does anyone know the Chaos Monkey tool from Netflix? See some nodding heads. So it's a tool that just randomly breaks anything in the Netflix tool, right? Just to see the rigidity and how it works and if service is going to go down. I challenge you as an Agile coach, as Scrum Master, to be that chaos monkey in your team and just pull random stuff out of your backlog and see how long it takes before someone starts to scream. If no one starts to scream, then you know it might not be adding any value. So then why keep it in there? I've had teams as well that after 3 months just cleared the entire backlog and start creating new ones, just to see what's really valuable to your stakeholders now. They had a session. Yeah, question.
When you say remove, you mean just literally
Just delete.
Yes?
Yeah.
And
there was a little undertone in it. Okay.
that's scary, isn't it? And that's, yes. And one of the biggest challenges that I see in organizations or the teams that I've worked with is that people treat Jira like it's their diary. Like they cram in all the details instead of saying, hey, stakeholder, let's have a conversation. Nope, just typing away until everything is completely chewed out and there's no creativity anymore for the developers to let that flourish. They just have to look at Jira, copy paste into their product, and that's done. And it takes away all the creativity. Yeah. So yes, it's super rigid. It's a wild idea, and I get that it's scary, but it brings back the focus again to problem solving instead of just executing whatever's in there.
Yeah. And we have seen this quite intensively. I went once to a company, they onboarded a new product owner. He got 2 weeks to read the backlog. So what's that? Is that a novel, a Harry Potter series, or what are you reading the whole time? Yeah, well, we have, I don't know, and this is also what the graph is showing, a tremendous amount of stuff in our backlog. But if you actually clean your backlog regularly, you keep it nice, tiny, and shiny. And to be honest, if it's really valuable, if it's important for the stakeholders, they are coming back. I mean, even the managers sometimes develop this behavior of, let's scream them, let them scream once. If they don't scream twice, it's probably not important. But this is the delicate balance between frustration and actually figuring out what is important, what is value, what is the high priority. But quite often we are not doing that. And that's why let's cover our asses, let's put it in the backlog. If someone comes back in a year, yeah, it's written down, it's here. I deprioritize it already 25 times, but I still have it. For example, how do I do that with my personal to-do list? I personally work with Kanban in my day-to-day. So if I push a to-do with 3 times, it gets deleted automatically. So if it's not valuable enough that I can do it in the time I give myself to do it, and push it 3 times, it's not important. Then I don't do it. Don't delete stuff like birthday of your girlfriend, parents, and this kind of stuff. Not good.
Is this experience report?
Maybe. But it works like that. So in a nutshell, what we also like to say here is, don't be afraid to kill your darlings. So for example, this talk, and now you can feel a little bit honored, is the last time we will give it. Because we already did it several times. We improved it several times, so if you don't like it today, that's the best we can do, by the way. But it's the same with your backlog. If there's something in it which is not worth it, which you already reviewed several times, but it's not coming up, just let go of it. It's hard. It sometimes hurts. The PO also thinks, I wrote it down, I invested so much time, it's waste if we are deleting it. Yes, true, but on the other hand, we haven't started it for quite a while, so why keeping it? Just makes the stuff a little bit messy.
And many organizations die of indigestion rather than starvation, right? They have way too many products that they're working on. They have so many things that don't necessarily add any value to whatever goal they're trying to achieve as a company, but they still keep it because there's a stakeholder or there's a need. Remember the Google Glass? Looked awesome. Seemed cool. Technology is there. But that you can build it doesn't mean that you should. If there's no market for it, then why keep it going? It has a lot to do with pushing the ethical boundaries or the technological boundaries as well. Like what is the market fit and the market readiness, and how are people able to really consume the product? And think about those things as well. Like, should we really do this? Can we do this? Sure, but should we? That's the next thing.
Yeah. Okay, but another solution can be, if we don't want to delete stuff, just deliver more. It's easier. If we just deliver more, we never pile up this backlog, right? We just push more stuff through the pipe because we want to continuously deliver, and especially as much as we can. So let's create a little feature factory, right?
We like feature factories because that means that everyone's busy, and as long as everyone's busy, that means that they're doing good stuff, right? The famous resource utilization rate. Just keep people busy for the sake of keeping them busy.
And I mean, someone asked for it, so you probably will have a good use of it, right? Quite often when I ask a new team I'm working with is, okay, this is a well-defined feature. I like it. It's well defined. The priority is clear. When will it be used? Oh, that's a good question. Let's ask the business stakeholder. Yeah, just finish it and then I will tell you when I use it. Yeah, okay, great. To be honest, when do you think, yeah, if I'm now really honest, not now, maybe next year, maybe a quarter later, I don't know yet. But why do we need it now? Well, if I get it now, I already know I have it. But that's not a valid reason, right? So challenge the business stakeholders on this end also helps quite intensively to say, okay, do we actually need it now? Is there a sense of urgency? Do we really want to have it now? If you need time to do the change management, if you need time to really implement the feature, fair enough. But let's be transparent about it and not push it through the pipe just to have more features. And the same is also with turning off features again. That's also a really interesting behavior. I see that clients, so I have worked with one client, a big media company. They started at a certain point in time to just turn off features. What do you think happened? Nothing, exactly. For one feature, we turned off, I think, 20 to 30 features. One feature, actually, someone came back 2 weeks later and said, I use this once a year, can I have it back? Well, let's briefly think about if we can do it otherwise, if you only use it once a year.
But it's super expensive to keep these tools in place as well and to maintain them. Because they're there, they need to be maintained by the developers or by someone else. It costs money. And if no one's ever going to use them, why keep it there? I had a team that had very persistent stakeholders that kept nagging them for months on end, and then keep nagging the product owner. We need this feature. We really need it, without any clear perception of why does it help to add any or to achieve any goals. But they kept nagging, and after 3 months, the product owner came and said, all right, let's do it. So the entire team of 15 developers worked on it for 3 months, added a feature usage index statistic to it, and it appeared that over the course of half a year, it was used once. 3 months for 15 people, that's a lot of money to be invested in a feature that's never being used. And that's what you get here. Like, he's busy all right, but does this really add value? And this could be like the luggage people in airports as well, right?
Well, could be. But interesting question to the crowd is, who of you is actually measuring feature usage? So who of you is tracking after releasing if the feature is used?
One,
two.
slide.
We're trying to push for it.
That's also good. We're trying to see, and that's actually interesting, right? Because we all try to release something, and we also agree that we want to communicate about things. We want to have transparency. We want to work as a group, cross-functional teams, and all these different things. But the one thing we all do quite often is, yeah, it's released, not my monkey anymore. While we are embracing this end-to-end responsibility, the responsibility apparently ends after it's released. But does it really end? Does it really create value if we let it go at that point in time? No. The other thing is you can do is also, if you have this feature factories, because the guy is busy, and I like to do this, putting the guys who develop stuff in front of the tool. I did it once with a company. He said, oh, what the fuck? So many different functions. I don't need that. I don't see through it. Dude, you are developing this. Yeah, I know, but it's crowded. So self-reflection is a really important point.
And what happens in many of these cases, like, I'm so busy, I'm overwhelmed. All right, then we're going to add more teams to it. Let's scale. Scaling is the last resort. Start downscaling the product first. Like, take a good hard look at what kind of features, what kind of stuff that you can take out or not do in your product backlog in order to maximize the results that you're getting from them. And then if that works, if that really is still needed to then scale up the amount of people or teams that you're working with, then you can do that. But start looking at the product itself and what kind of things should we not do in order to maximize the results.
Yeah. So what we like to encourage you is embracing this uncertainty. It's fine not to know what comes in half a year, in 3 months, because as long as you keep the focus in the moment and prioritize the things which are actually creating value, not knowing that our roadmap is 5 years long, that's okay. That's fine. Actually embracing that helps a lot. And the other thing is...
I got a question.
Yeah.
You're saying that, but we get from management. Can you please tell us precisely what's coming up and so on, and resource usage in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and so on?
Ask them what they're going to eat by the end of May 2024.
Yeah, I can ask them what where they're thinking about in 2019, March 13th.
Exactly.
But still,
Yeah.
nice, but
And that's a really important point. So the management will ask you, okay, what's the roadmap for half a year, and so forth? And we're coming to budget planning in a second. But why is that? Why is that the management is asking that? Quite often I see in organizations they are asking that to prove that they are valuable or needed as well. They want to know that we still provide something as an organization which secures their jobs as well. Because if they can go to the next in line and say, by the way, this is the wonderful roadmap, this is what we are delivering in half a year, they have a proof that they are needed. In addition to, and this is what I'm implying with end-to-end responsibilities, quite often I see agile transformation starting in the IT, right? So that's where it's coming from. There's cozy, it's working, and by the way, our sales already promised this to the client in 2 weeks. Oh, lovely. So, and who's now telling the client that he's not gonna getting it in 2 weeks? Yeah, no, we really need it, we really need it. And this is also the point, what I see is where transformations or agile settings fail in regards to end-to-end responsibility. Really taking also them into the account, the sales team. I worked with an organization, they just put all the sales guys in the room as well and said, okay, this is what is possible, this is what we can deliver. We are uncertain what it is in 3 months, we are uncertain what it is in 6 months, but what do you really want? I want this, I want this, I want this. Yeah, well, can you please talk to each other? Because then you don't make client commitments you cannot fulfill. But managing that and ensuring this situation that actually